FNAF! Security Breach. Probably the most divisive game in the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise as a whole. But what if I told all of you Security Breach was lying to all of you about something so blatant in the very forefront of Security Breach, almost hiding in plain sight? What's good, gays and bays? Skelly Dilly here, and what if I told you the Glamrock animatronics in Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach aren't actually Glamrock? Initially, I was confused. Very confused. Scott Cawthon is a part of the very generation that grew up during the golden days of Glamrock. No pun intended. So why did these designs fall so flat? Well, we all later found out he didn't fully design them. But you may ask, what do you mean they aren't Glamrock? Well, hear me out. They aren't. These guys are much closer to the 80s hairband aesthetic with, well, crazy hair, crazy colors, a lot of graphic patterns, that whole shebang. Whereas Glamrock isn't 80s at all, it's the 1970s, stacked with a lot of sci-fi elements, metallics, glitter, jumpsuits, big platforms, big collars. It was pretty wild. Like, seriously, there's so many space themes within FNAF, it's pretty criminal that the Glamrock aesthetic wasn't properly utilized. It would have worked so perfectly. So, I'm not going to do a full-on Security Breach analysis here. That could be something for another day. However, I do have something else up my sleeve. What did you do? I've got redesigns! Yeah! Now, let me just say beforehand, I cannot abide by people who say that their fan designs are fixing, quote-unquote, the original designs, or making them better. That's a whole other topic I could get into. All in all, it's pretty disrespectful. My goal here isn't making an entire smear campaign of FNAF or its character designs. I actually love many of them. However, my aim is to create designs that are more accurate to the aesthetic that these specific animatronics are named after. The original designs aren't objectively bad in any capacity, they just aren't Glamrock. With that being said, let's get into it! So, I set a few rules for myself when creating these redesigns. First off, no real fabric clothing. Many Glamrock outfits have accessories like capes, or as I've said earlier, massive collars, platform boots as well, but those would not only break the silhouette of the FNAF characters, but realistically would be caught between the joints of the mascots. FNAF animatronics aren't your conventional mascot sporting a big fursuit hung over an endoskeleton. These bots are more smooth and jointed like mannequins or dolls, their outer shells made of plastic or metal. So we're honoring the base FNAF designs in this aspect. The clothing is merely painted onto their hard outer bodies or consists of certain shaped joints or plating. They never really wear shoes either. We aren't breaking the base design here. Which, on to the next rule I'm setting for myself. Stay as close as I can to the original color schemes. This goes without saying. Every mascot has their colors that define them. I am going to stay as close as I possibly can to this. Side note, these designs are merely concept sketches and are in my own art style, so don't expect them to be 100% on model. They still look fairly cartoonish, but they get my general point across. First and foremost, Glamrock Freddy. I mainly took inspiration from David Bowie, specifically during his Aladdin Sane era. For this, it makes the most sense to have such a recognizable icon be referenced in the main mascot. Many of his different looks from this era fit with the color scheme as well. However, I kept Freddy's iconic top hat and bow tie. There isn't too much I can say about this one, although I do find it funny that the original design Glamrock Freddy has, he's the only one that isn't actually wearing clothes. I also changed up his face paint to just a lightning bolt, yet another reference to David Bowie, and I put some glitter and very large sequins on his top hat. Cannot have enough glitter when it comes to Glamrock outfits. I also switched up his earring as well. I thought I'd keep it with the whole lightning bolt motif and just throw that straight across the board. With that being said, next is Monty, with a bit more Bowie influence, but this time from Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. Monty didn't quite feel right sporting a jumpsuit like Freddy, so I opted for the open shirt with the massive lapels. Keeping the lightning bolt motif, of course, I had to switch up those pants as well. Those things had me confused for so long because the green on green really had me thinking he was just bare assing it through the whole game. I also changed up the hairstyle. A full-on mullet looked kinda awkward with his silhouette, so I gave him at least the top of a glam rock styled mullet with the addition of those glorious 1970s mutton chops. I opted for red pants as well to match with his hair and balance out the purple. You can't go wrong with a little bit of red and green. Next up on our list is Glamrock Chica. Taking a step away from the Bowie aesthetic, I took inspiration from The Sweet. Their brightly colored jumpsuits seemed absolutely perfect for this goofball of a woman. Sticking with pink as her main color, I opted for more green because of how great these two colors look together, giving her those massive lapels, and keeping the bow in her hair and giving her more of a heart motif with her guitar and the cuffs on her outfit. I also gave her vibrant red hair to mimic the comb of a hen, while also looking like the frizzy and feathered hairstyles of the 70s. And last, and certainly my favorite to work on out of the bunch, was Roxanne Wolf. Taking inspiration from my personal favorite bands, the Runaways, specifically from Joan Jett. I know the Runaways' music is much more rock and roll, but we're only talking about the aesthetic here. It was so obvious to go with the iconic red jumpsuit that Joan usually was seen wearing, but I added these checkerboard stripes as a nod to Roxanne's race car themes. Changing her hair up to more of a feathered style, and switching it to black. I wanted to keep her one colored streak in the front, but I changed it to red. It matches with her outfit and provides enough of a pop against her black hair. I tried my best to incorporate the green into this design, but it looked really awkward. Her fur color keeps the purple tint within her color scheme, but a much simpler set of colors works far better for this design. It strays probably the farthest from any of the original designs, but I'm really happy with how this one came out. So, how many of y'all saw that the Glamrock animatronics weren't really that glamrock? Have any of you guys made fan designs closer to the Glamrock aesthetic? And this is something that I hope more people take part in. The Glamrock aesthetic is really just, it's truly wonderful, and I would have loved to have seen it explored more in this game. What we've got isn't terrible at all, but it's fun to think of what could have been. And let me know if you guys would be interested in a part 2. I'd love to do a take on Glamrock Bonnie's design, and maybe even make a Glamrock Foxy design. Probably, I could try a Vanny design closer to the slasher material she was meant to be. That could be hella fun. If you guys enjoyed, throw me a like on this video and subscribe. Check out all my other videos and follow me on Instagram. I am pretty active there. I post a lot of my art, and I have a webcomic up on my Webtoons. There's a link for both in the description. With that being said,